All right, Kelly, I think we're rolling. All right. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, whenever you are watching this video. Welcome to our June Mammoth Cave area homemaker lesson. Today, it is my pleasure to present Kelly May. She's a senior extension associate for the Family and Consumer Sciences Extension Program, and she is going to be delivering our lesson, Scam, Red Flags, and Avoiding Fraud. Kelly, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for asking me, Christy. I'm really excited to share this today.
All right, Kelly, we are going to just try and make you a co-host real quick so you can get your screen pulled up and we will get started. All righty, Kelly, I think you should be able to share now.
Give it a whirl and see what happens. All right, there we go.
All righty. All right.
Does that look good for you?
It looks great. So you can start whenever.
Well, hello and welcome. And I'm excited that I get to talk to you. I wish I was there in person, but the whole point of doing it this way was so we could record it. So while I would have loved to have driven down there and talked with you in person, this is a great method for being able to record and be able to watch this on your own time and be ready to share it when it's time for you to share it with somebody else. A little bit about my background. I've been with Extension for 3 years now. I have enjoyed every minute of it, and I became a finance expert. It still sounds weird to say that to my own ears, but I became a finance expert by working for the state regulator for banking, lending, and investing for 12 years. So I've been in the finance realm for a long time, and I've done a lot of work with scams and frauds and trying to help people avoid being a victim. And so you'll notice that the name of this presentation is Avoiding Fraud. We can't totally prevent fraud. There's always the small chance that it could happen. We hope it doesn't. And we hope by giving you as many tools as we possibly can that it won't happen to you. So we're going to learn about the red flags and things to look out for so that we can run the other way and avoid it happening to us. So we will get started. And while I am presenting this as a presenter, I'm also doing this as a sort of a train the trainer. So you can ask questions about how to present this locally. I'm sure any questions you ask will help those on the recording as well. And I'll give a few tips along the way about how to shorten it or expand it depending on how much you want to talk, because this is a fairly long lesson. It's written to be, if you do the full lesson the way the facilitator guide says to do it, it's about an hour. And I know you guys probably don't want quite that much lesson. I love that homemakers do educational content in their meetings. I think it's a wonderful thing. And I understand that you have other business to conduct as well. So we can't spend the whole meeting doing a lesson. So I do recognize that, and we provide ways for you to shorten it down so it doesn't have to be an hour. And I will do a half-hour version of it. And then if you are interested, I'll share information on what you can add back in to make it longer. So I may jump around a little bit in and out of presentation mode, so to speak, where I'm used to just being the presenter and talking about it, but I want to give you the tips so that when you present it, you will have all the tools you need. But I'm going to switch. I'm going to go back and forth. I'm really not going to use the PowerPoint slides. Just so you know, there are PowerPoint slides available, but we know that that's not always useful depending on your situation. If you're going to present in somebody's home, if you don't have a projector, it's totally not useful. So we recognize that, and it's available if you want it, if you are set up for that. If you're having your meeting in an extension facility and you'd like to use the PowerPoints, you're certainly welcome to. All the materials your county agent can get for you, it's behind a firewall protected website, but these materials are available for your use. I'm going to switch screens. Can you see the publication, Christy?
Not yet. I just see your PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, I'll probably have to go stop share and reshare.
Okay. Can you see us?
I can see you.
Okay.
You look fine. All right, how about now?
Yes, now we can see the PowerPoint
All
presentation
right.
or the publication.
Yes, so I'm going to show you a couple of the documents that hopefully you've gotten copies of. And if you haven't gotten copies of these yet, your agent can access all of these for you. This is the publication with this poor confused woman on the front. Something has happened with her credit card and she is a victim of fraud, unfortunately. So we're going to try to keep that from happening to you. We don't want any of you to get that confused look and that feeling. So this publication is about the red flags and avoiding fraud. I'll scroll through real quick. It's about 4 pages long. It has all of the content for the presentation. And when we shorten the presentation, the parts we leave out will still be in this publication. So when you present, hand this out so that they have it and can refer back to that information at any time. We also have a couple of worksheets that I believe you have copies of. And there's an evaluation form that we love to evaluate. We'll do that at the end. And also a facilitator's guide. Now, this does not get handed out to the participant. This is for you as the instructor. So if you're presenting this program, this document will be very helpful to help you know what to say and when. So we pair this with the publication so that the publication has all the facts and the information that we want to share. And the facilitator's guide will help you know how and when to share it. It tells you what copies to make. It tells you the objectives or the point of what we're trying to help people learn with this lesson. And you're probably very familiar with these, so I hope I'm not saying something you already know. I probably am. But it does note that there are 2 versions of the red flags worksheet. We're going to use the one that's filled in today because that helps you present the lesson just a little bit quicker. Somebody who wanted to do the full hour version of the lesson might start with the blank one and have people fill them in as the group thinks of things. But it's very much quicker to use the one that's filled in already. And I'll show you a sample of that when we get to that part. It also includes some things agents like to have, such as the impact statement and the marketing tools. As a Homemaker presenter, you probably won't need those things. But again, they're there if they are needed. Now, we have a suggestion for adapting this. So we note that it's 50 to 60 minutes, but you can do this lesson in 30 minutes or less if you want. And the way to do that is to look at these objectives, these 4 objectives, and just pick a few. And so if I were to make this a short lesson, the objectives I would really focus on are number 3 and number 4. So know how to protect yourself and know who to report to. So if I want to pick 2 things for you to take home today, those are the 2 things that I hope you get out of this. Now we have the other 2 things, the red flags and the tricks and tactics, if you feel like sharing that. And if you don't have time to share that, that's fine. It's in the publication. So people can read more if they want to know more. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. And then show you too that it starts with, it does list the slides, but you don't have to use the slides. But let's just get started. And the introductory activity is this icebreaker. So I will ask you, and I know on this video, you're way across the room, so Christy might have to help repeat your answers, but who in here, raise your hands if you think you could never get scammed.
I used to think that until I met you, Kelly.
We like to think that we could never get scammed. However, unfortunately, it is something that could happen, even if we're very careful. And there are several reasons for this. Hang on a second. I'm going to switch slides again. I'm going to show you one slide from the PowerPoint that might be handy to have And again, if you're not using the PowerPoint, you could have your agent just print slide 3 with this lovely chart on it from the Federal Trade Commission. And this chart shows that fraud can happen to anyone, which is an unfortunate thing. I don't like having to report that, but it's true and it does happen. There we go. I can see you guys again. Interestingly, I've highlighted here the age range of 30 to 39 because we hear all the time about scams happening to seniors, right? Have you all heard that scams happen often to seniors? That is true. It does happen to seniors. It happens to all ages. It doesn't matter how old you are. Fraud can happen to anyone. The criminals or the con artists are looking for wherever they can get money. If you have a large retirement nest egg, you're going to look attractive to a con artist. If you have very good credit and you haven't used a lot of it, you're going to look very good to a con artist. So they're going to go where the money is, or they're going to go where the money is easy. So they're going to go where somebody will listen and hand it over. And so that age group of 30 to 39, you'll see on the right, the bar graph shows that that's the group that loss reports by how many people is the highest. So the younger age bracket is a higher group for how many people fall victim. But if you look at the first group of bars, the very bottom, the 70 to 79 and age 80 and older, those are the groups that lose the most money. So again, the con artists are going where the money is. They're going for the people who will fall for it quickly. So that's the younger set. And they're going for the people who have the most money to give and to lose, unfortunately. And that's the little bit older set. So the bad news is it can happen to anyone and it doesn't matter your age. So I do like sharing this data. Even though that's a 2020 chart, if you looked up 2021, it would show very similar numbers. This has not changed a lot. The types of scams might have changed a little bit, but the fact that it can happen to any age has not. And so for this part of the presentation, I'm going to stop sharing so that we can just talk and I can see you a little bigger. And we're just going to talk through a little bit of this presentation. Now, if I was doing the long version, this is where I would talk about con artist tactics. And so that's the first thing you'll see in your publication is talking about things like affinity fraud and social consensus and reciprocity and scarcity and phantom riches. And those all sound like very big words. And basically what it's saying is those are the ways that con artists go about tricking you. So if you know the tricks, you might be able to avoid them. To save some time, we're going to skip those. And what we'll do is if you want to learn more about those from me, I'll come back to it at the end. So we can talk as little or as much as you want. I'm putting you all in control of this presentation. And we're going to start with what would have been our objective 2, which is now our first thing to start with. And that is the red flags. So I'm hoping to get you guys to participate. I may need Christy's help because the room is big. But somebody tell me, what is a red flag to you? What is something that you hear somebody say, or you hear in a commercial, or you hear on TV or the radio, and you think that just doesn't sound right? What is a red flag to you?
It tells me that I need to stop what I'm doing and either research a little more before I make any kind of a donation or move or leave.
So maybe ask if somebody is asking for a donation.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Kelly?
Somebody asking for a donation? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes. So they're asking for something. And what about the donation makes you wonder about it though?
Is it going to the where they tell me it's going, or is it going for something hidden?
Oh, okay. So you're questioning where the money is going. So if they're asking for charity or they're asking for a donation, that you don't know where it's going. And so one of the red flags that might line up for is, I'm going to share my screen again. And we'll go to the red flags worksheet. Now there is a blank version, but I have provided the filled in version for the short version of this workshop. And so that looks like maybe in the top right corner, we'll send paperwork later. So maybe it's something where they're not giving you all the information. You're not sure where that money's going. And they say, oh, well, we'll just send us a donation today and then we'll send you a brochure, right? Well, how do you know it's going where they say it's going? If they're not even sending you the paperwork, that's something maybe you should mistrust. What else? Who can give me another example? And now I've given you a cheat sheet. You've got all the answers right in front of you.
The word free.
Free.
Free. Oh, yes. We like to say there's no such thing as a free lunch. Everybody's in it for something, right? They're hoping to get something out of you. Even today, me presenting, I'm hoping to get something out of you, right? I'm presenting for free. You've got this wonderful free workshop, and we're hoping you take home knowledge. So even we want you to get something out of it. So it's good to be a little skeptical and think, what's in it for them? Why are they giving you a free lunch? Why are they giving you a free tour of this condo? Why are they giving you a steak dinner? They're hoping to get something out of you, even if it's only your contact information, and then they harass you later. They might be trying to sell you something on the spot. They try to make you feel a little bit guilty for taking the free thing. That's one of the tactics we didn't talk about. The reciprocity. They want you to feel like, oh, well, they did something nice for me, so maybe I should give back to them and join in this little venture they're starting. Don't let them trick you into feeling that way. They're trying to get something out of you. So always think what's in it for them.
Kelly, I have received calls before telling me that my car's extended warranty is almost up, and I mean, who has done that phone call?
Everybody.
Everybody in the room, right? Yeah, so that hits on a couple of them. So
I will not stop because you have had multiple times to get your car repaired.
right. But they make it sound like it's the last chance, right? That last chance. So that's number 3 on the left there, only a few left, that limited quantity. So they're trying to make it sound like, oh, this is your last chance. There's only a few left. This will never happen again. And it gets back to they're trying to create an urgency. That's also part of the today only, the limited time, that one right above it. And also the exclusively for you. So that whole idea of it's not there for everyone. It's not there all the time. It's something you have to do, and there's an urgency to it. And by them creating that urgency, what are they trying to get you to not do? What our first friend said about checking it out, right? So they're trying to get you to make a decision because you're in a hurry and not to do your research. So doing your research is one of the tips that we're going to share in a minute. So that is, all of those tactics are ways that are going to try to push you to hurry and to not take your time and check it out. And so those are always red flags. What else?
I've gotten called before, when someone says, I need to verify your information. And I say, for what? And they say, well, before I tell you this bill that you owe, I need you to verify your information. I said, well, if you have it there, then you tell me and I'll verify it that way. Yeah. And so they say, well, it's personal. You may not be the person on here. I said, well, then just keep trying the next person. It's so stupid, and I just usually hang up on them after I talk with them for a minute.
Right. So that's a sort of a phishing. So we hear about the emails that are phishing. It looks like it comes from your bank, or it looks like it comes from a long lost relative, or it looks like it comes from a service you subscribe to, or a utility company like like the water company or Netflix or whoever it is. And really, they're trying to get you to answer something or to send your information. And so you don't want to send your information there. That is this box here that says requesting personal information. They're not going to need your information. If you do business with them, they already have it. The one above it is a good one too, the threatening arrest or legal action. If you get emails that say, we're going to turn off your service because you haven't paid your bill, or we're going to send the sheriff out to you because you haven't paid this fine, or you're in arrears, or you're, delinquent on something or other. And you're not. But it still makes us worry, right? Because it sounds terrible and we don't want to be that person who's done the terrible thing. And so we want to fix it. And that tries to make us feel like, again, we have to hurry and take care of it. And so we always want to take a step back. Anytime you feel like hurrying, take a step back and say, no, wait a minute. Why is this coming to me? What could have possibly happened? And how can I check this out without trusting this person? So if they're saying it's the deputy sheriff, say, all right, well, I will call you back in a minute. And you hang up and you call back the local sheriff's number and ask them about it. And I bet they'll tell you that, no, that's not true. Somebody is just pretending to be that person. Another good one is the pay by wire transfer, internet currency, or gift card. So if somebody wants you to pay for something in a strange way, that's always a red flag, because they're trying to use a method where you can't get your money back. If you wire transfer, it's a very secure transaction that gets the money where it's going, but it's not one that can be easily reversed. And so you don't know where it's being wire transferred to. It could be going out of the country. And once that happens, we can't get the money back. Same thing with a gift card. It is a form of payment. It may be good for a certain store, or it may be like a Visa gift card that's good for anywhere. And once that money is on that card, you can't get that back off of that card. It's on that card forever. And so if you've given that card number away, then that person has access to that cash. It works just like cash. So anytime somebody asks you to pay in a strange way, that's definitely a red flag. The one below it is a good one too. It says deposit the check, send back some, and keep the difference. That's a real scary one, because if you deposit the check and it bounces, then you have sent back money and you don't have the money you thought you had when you deposited it. And you might have bounce check fees or non-sufficient fund fees. And so that one really hurts, because not only are you out the money that you sent, but you don't have the money you thought you had, and you might be paying fees on top of it. Any other questions about these, or should I move on to the next part?
I think you covered a lot, Kelly. That was great.
We didn't even cover all of them. There's more, but again, it's in the publication. And so the idea is just to get this conversation going, to pick 3 or 4 at least to highlight and to really talk about. And so you can do that the way I've done it, where you just kind of start the conversation and say, which ones have you heard before? What red flags make you really nervous about a deal or an offer? And then those are the ones you can talk about, and have a few highlighted that you want to make sure to talk about, like I did. And that way you cover some of the most important ones. And that way, it's the ones that are important to your group, because if that's the thing that you've heard before, then maybe that's the one we need to talk about. So for the next part, we're going to do this activity that I like to call the shield of prevention. And I love that, because it's such a great visual of let's protect ourselves by holding this shield up in front of us. And Christy, can you see the shield on the screen?
Yes,
okay, I see. I saw you getting the worksheet. Yeah. So this is the one you'll need your pen for. And I actually found, I didn't cite the source. I wish I had, because I can't find it now, but I found a bit of research that said if you doodle, it helps to reinforce what you're learning. And so I encourage you to doodle on this shield. So not only draw or write the tip that I'm going to give you, a tip for the top half and a tip for the bottom half. So we're going to protect yourself in 2 easy steps. So this is great. So it's easy to remember. It's just 2 things. But I encourage you to doodle and draw and do whatever helps you to remember these 2 steps, so that you can have that going forward. And so step 1, or the top half of your shield, oops, I almost dropped my notes. The top half of the shield, the tip is to decline suspicious offers or just say no. We all like that tagline of just say no. So you don't even have to listen. It's all about being skeptical and not taking them at their word. So we've learned to recognize the red flags. When one of those red flags goes up, you can hang up. You can turn around and walk away. And part of the problem is we're nice people. We've been raised to be polite. We've been raised, some of us were raised not to end the conversation. You wait for the person who called to say goodbye. Well, that doesn't work with these scam callers. They're not going to get off the phone till you say yes and buy something with them. And so it's okay to hang up. Sometimes we got to tell people it's okay. It's okay to be rude. They're being rude to you. They're stealing your time and they're trying to steal your money. You can be a little rude back to them. So hang up, get off the phone. If you are somebody who has trouble getting off the phone, anybody in the room have trouble getting off the phone? They don't like being the one to hang up. Oh. So I always tell my husband, he just can't say no. The Girl Scouts come, he's going to buy all the cookies because, they came to his door and he doesn't want to tell them no. So I have to be the bad guy. He calls in the bad cop and I have to come out and say, we already bought with 5 other Girl Scouts at school. And, whatever it is. And obviously I support Girl Scouts, but that's just my example. But he has a hard time saying no. And so one time he actually answered the phone and they said, is this Eldon? And his name's Eldon. And he said, no, he's not home right now. And so then he hung up and I said, why did you say that? And he said, because when they call back, they'll get you and you'll be mean and tell them no. And so that's okay. I like to have have a plan to get off the phone. So if it helps you to have a script, say something like, I'm not doing business today, or I need more information before I decide, or I have to talk to somebody else before I make a decision, or whatever it is. If they're really mean to you, say something like, well, I need to talk to my daughter, the police officer, or my son, the lawyer. They don't know what your daughter or your son does, and that just might scare them into not calling you again. So you can use their tactics back on them if you want. Sometimes I get some real good conversation after saying that, because there's some people that have tried some really interesting things when they get annoyed with the people who call them and knock on their door. There's also information in the packet on like the do not call list and in that. So that's there if you want it. One note with the do not call list is that there are groups that are exempt. So somebody earlier mentioned charities. Charities and some political surveys and advertisements are exempt from the do not call list. So you're still going to get calls. You shouldn't get calls for sales offers. If you do, you can report it. Of course, if it's fraud, if it's somebody who's trying to commit a crime, they already don't care about the law. So they don't care that you're on the no call list. And so they're going to call you too. So the good thing about the no call list is, you're only supposed to be getting the calls you need to get, and it makes it easier to hang up. So that's the good thing about it, but it's not foolproof. All right, so for the second half of your shield, our tip number 2 to protect yourself is to research any opportunity, or as I say, do your homework. You want to cool off. So again, with that, stopping the urgency and taking the time and waiting until you have a level head and can really think through the offer, and get it in writing and read the fine print. All the good juicy stuff that we need to know is hidden in the really boring tiny type. All the legal disclaimers and all the things we need to really be careful of are in that tiny print. So read the fine print and make sure you understand it. So sometimes it's written in kind of legal speak and may not be very clear what you're signing up for. And so if you don't understand what you're signing up for, you probably don't need to be involved with it. Check out the source and check references. And so just do your homework and research it. Any questions about either of these tips?
I was just gonna say, never say yes. If they call you and ask you, is this so-and-so, is this, do not say yes, because they can do that.
Oh, That's on my red flag list. I'm glad you said that. So she said, don't say yes. If they call and ask you a question, they want you to confirm either you're agreeing to sign up for something when you say yes, or they're making sure you're a real person, right? And if you're a real person, they're going to call you that many more times. So recorded phone calls requesting you answer yes or press 1. Don't answer yes or press 1. It's better if you don't say anything and hang up. And if you don't push any buttons, because then you're confirming that you're you and you're really interacting with them, and they're really going to start the calls after that. That's a good tip.
Never call those numbers back if they call you on occasion. If they say
Yes.
then in Mexico maybe that, because this is really happening a lot of times.
Yeah.
Then and just call this number back if you didn't charge this, and all this kind of stuff. So you think,
Yeah,
never call those numbers back.
that's true. So
Never.
just in case the recording didn't pick that up, she said, never call the number back that they give. Look up the number somewhere else if you feel the need to call back, but you don't have to call back at all. But definitely don't use the number they give you. That's another, thank you for sharing that. It's another very good tip.
We're well experienced on. And you're talking about donations. My husband, he gets into the computer and said, even the people that you give donations to, if their CEO makes over $100,000 a year, out of that, he won't give to it. So we give the very few. We do the
Yeah.
that because there's places you go in there and you can look all that up, and they'll call you up for it. Even the ones that you normally do, some of them are not. Favors most of the money might go like $1 or 10 cents. The thing goes through. It amazed me because I've worked to collect stuff through like Homemakers and different things to collect that, and they're not. You have to look and see who makes the most money on that. The CEO, all these people, make all the money, and they do that, or it goes out of the country, and all this stuff.
Yeah. So she's definitely doing her research for the recording. If you didn't hear, she's saying, a lot of places, they are a charitable group, but their CEOs could make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you just don't know what they're spending the money on unless you really do that homework to find out more. And then you can decide if that's where you want your money to go. Our last tip for this lesson is to report fraud. Fraud is dramatically underreported. Basically, when somebody's a victim to fraud, they feel rotten. They feel awful and taken advantage of, and don't really want to tell a lot of people that it happened. I can see how that could happen and how somebody could feel that way, but you can't let that get you down. You really need to report it if it does happen to you, because that's the only way we can protect other people from being victims, because the fraud goes on and on. If somebody feels bad and doesn't report it, then it can keep happening to somebody else. So we need to, I know it's hard if it does happen. I hope it never happens to you guys. I hope these tips really help and you're able to avoid it. If it does happen, do report it.
Now,
And
sorry, I have a question. So when you say report it, do you mean report it to like the police or like share about it, or both?
Yes, both. So in the publication, I've scrolled down to page 4. Can you see it on the screen? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, so there's the big red header that says report fraud, or in your packet, it might be gray if it's a black and white copy. But so there's several places listed here. There's 3 bullets at the bottom and 2 at the top. And the statewide place to report fraud is the Kentucky Attorney General. So that's good for any county in Kentucky. They keep records of frauds that are going on, and they actually investigate and research fraud. And sometimes they can help get your money back. It may be good to also, if you have lost money, you might also want to contact the local police or sheriff, whoever is the law enforcement in your city or town or local region. So you can use the local police, and statewide, you can report to the Attorney General's office. The Federal Trade Commission is a federal place to report. So nationwide, they keep records of all different types of frauds that go on. And they are the number one resource for identity theft. So if you're a victim of identity theft in particular, you can report that to the police, the Attorney General, and the Federal Trade Commission, and all three of them will help you work through it. But for any other kind of fraud, so if it's whether you're a victim or whether you just hear of something that doesn't sound right and you want to let somebody know, hey, there's somebody calling about this stuff. And, you know, especially if it's a very local thing where they're calling local people or going door to door, you want to report that so we can try to get that stopped. Another national place to report is the Better Business Bureau. They take a lot of complaints about companies who are doing something strange or charities that aren't real or things like that. And so that can be reported to, again, the Federal Trade Commission, the Attorney General, or the Better Business Bureau. It's just whichever one you happen to think of that you want to report it to. And then the two at the top are for the Cybercrime Internet Crime Complaint Center is a federal, I want to say FBI, but I can't recall off the top of my head, but it's a reporting for any kind of phishing, email, or internet crime that happens that you want to report. Now, they're not going to be able to help reverse things that happen online. They're more of a data collection repository, and they track trends. And so then they can help law enforcement groups figure out what's trending right now that we need to be on the lookout for, so they can kind of target specifically to types of scams and help in that way. So it does help with prevention, but it's not specific to individuals because there's so much of it that goes on. It would be impossible to reverse every single email that everybody ever got that was fraud. However, it is good to report. And then finally, there are identity theft resources at identitytheft.gov. So lots of resources that you can utilize, and information, good information out there. You can hear about scams that are trending, and you know, they change a little bit over time, but for the most part, the basis underneath is the same, and those red flags will come up over and over again. These red flag promises are the same no matter what type of scam it is. You might see a couple of those. And so hopefully that'll help protect you. And I can take any questions you have. We can talk about the stuff we didn't talk about if you like, but I would love for you to do your evaluations. We do keep track of who uses the lesson, and basically what we want to know is, how did we do? Did we give you good information? Were you able to remember it and use it? And what can we do better? So anything you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it. Christy will collect those, or your local agent if you're watching the video, and you can get those back to me. My contact information is in the facilitator guide. So I did write this, and if you have any questions, you can ask me either before or after the presentation. If somebody asks you something you don't know the answer to, and you can't find it in the materials, let me know and I'll see if I can get it for you.
Is identity fraud real?
Yes.
And they really take your house without you signing it away?
Is very uncommon. She asked about the theft of your home by deceptive paperwork. So it has happened occasionally. It's fairly rare and fairly complicated, and unlikely that it would happen. Boy, that's a very specific question. I don't have notes prepared on that, so I can look that up and get it back to you. But I have read about that. And I do know that it's
big, but I don't know if all that stuff is real.
yeah.
Is
So
that what
I did
happened
read-
in that, what was that movie? The Fugitive? No.
Mhm.
It was about identity. I don't know.
Yeah. So identity theft is very real. And she asked about a very, very specific form of identity theft where somebody's trying to take the deed to your house and get it out of your name. That one doesn't happen very often, but identity theft in general does. In fact, we have a whole lesson on just identity theft that's part of this series. So if you're interested in that, maybe Christy can arrange, or your local agent can arrange that lesson either as the full hour-long lesson, or you can do the shorter version like we're doing here for the homemakers. But either way, that information is out there and we can get you the publication for that. If nothing else, just so you can read more about it. But yes, identity theft is real. It does happen. Hopefully we can take some steps to keep it from happening. But it is a possibility. The very specific question about the deed fraud is not very common. And sometimes it's more of somebody trying to sell something. They're trying to make you afraid that that will happen so they can sell a product. So that may be something you've heard about.
And I thought that might be with the identity theft too.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they really would help you with that situation. Like, I just don't think they'll help you fix my car. I just don't believe it.
Yeah. So sometimes people are they're trying to build on your fears to make you buy something. And it sounds like a good product. And maybe it's even a real product, like credit monitoring is a real product. It's really a service that somebody's performing for you. That's what you're paying for. But it's the same as the things you can do for free. They're checking your credit report. You can do that for free. So sometimes it's a service that's a real service that they're just charging you for something you can do on your own. Which if you don't want to do it on your own, maybe it's worth paying for. I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But sometimes they're trying to sell you an item or a service that's just also fraudulent. They're just trying to make you afraid.
It's like you say, they are a lot of the, it's real, like in car maintenance, when you're making fun of, there's real companies that will sell you that, do that. And everything. But all that, and probably all those would, that you call, except if you don't want that costs a lot of money, to do that.
Right.
A lot of those companies are real, like this credit thing, they're real companies. Also, having credit fixed, they have those, all the time on TV and everything. And those are real too. And some of them do stuff and some of them don't. They're not really fraud.
Yeah. There are you said credit repair. There are some credit repair companies that are real. That will help you work through your situation, but there are some credit repair companies that will take your money and not actually work on your account. They'll tell you they are, but those are the fraudulent ones. So yeah, any kind of service can be turned into a fraud if somebody doesn't follow through with what they promise. If they tell you one thing and do something else, that's basically how fraud can happen.
Here in Kentucky with all the tornadoes, and the repair on those, and see there's a lot of people.
Yeah, the charity scams.
And there's also a lot of them that are coming to repair your stuff and they're don't have insurance and not, so you need to look at that and stuff. And we have, think that or rash that. And then there's all these wrong things, but the driveway things, I'll come to do your driveway, and that, or do your roof. And some of those roofing things are okay, but you really need to call them and contact them and not just do those that come, because they might do it, they might do a good job, they might be real, and then they might just mess up the roof. I mean, right now, we're in the time that I need to get somebody to do my trees right now, and everybody that's doing trees are really busy because we've had all this stuff right now, and I sure don't want to do anything that comes up at my door and says, I see you got 2 dead trees. And I do this thing, because I'm leery of that.
Yeah. So she's getting into types of scams, and those are some of the, those tend to be like an advanced fee scam. They're trying to get you to pay something up front. Oh, pay the deposit, or pay the taxes, or pay the fee for the service, and then you pay the rest when we're done, but then they don't come back and finish, that kind of thing.
Those deed things too, that she's talking about, a lot of the identity things to do that. I think that's really rare because they can't get that far because you never bought a house, you know, that you have to go through a whole lot of stuff to do that. And that would be, you know, I don't know, I think, you know, because I've bought some real estate, and bought some, that would be hard to do your identity that far, you know, before you family.
Hey, Kelly, I think I might end the recording soon, just for the sake of time for the other people who are going to be watching this. But I'm happy for, do you all have any final questions for Kelly? I'm a little afraid. I'm not sure if their audio is going to be picked up on the recording.
Right, yeah, yeah,
and
there's that.
Yeah. Do you all?
And you can edit that if you want to
Yeah,
edit to the end of the presentation. Does anybody have any questions on the presentation of this or how to share the information, or questions about how you think it would go in the home setting when you're sharing this?
Even after I stop record, Kelly, I might still let you chat with them just in case they
Okay.
have more questions.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna stop recording, but anyone who's watching the recording, Kelly's information is attached, and like she said earlier, you could always ask your agent if she didn't cover a specific question you had, and they could always email Kelly. So thank you so much for watching our lesson. Kelly, thank you so much for being with us. And Kelly, if you want
Thanks
to
for
hop
having
on, I'll let you talk to my ladies.
me.
Let's see.